Hello, yes, that's right. It's Joe here for Joyrider TV, coming to you live from the Greek island of Lefkos. Just sorting out my shadows. Ooh, using a small light here to get as many shadows as possible. I might just do away with the small light. Oh my word, we're shadowy today. Yes, that's right. It is the live Q&A session where I am going to be answering your questions on the topic of catamaran sailing, and I dare say various other things as well. And yes, for those of you who've already noticed, I have got a new jumper. This is the all new, brand new, just out in the last 30 minutes, Joyrider TV glossary of terms jumper. I think it's got it all there. I can't remember exactly what it says. I think it does say giving it the beans, cooking the goose, and various other things on there. But get yours now from totaljoyrider.com. Hello to Leland Lee, first in the live chat today. Great to have you with us from Clearwater, Florida. Great. Nice to have you on board. Very little to report from Vasiliki Lefkos, Greece at the moment. Apart from it has been very cold. We've got wind from the northeast, which is really pretty juicy stuff. It's almost like real kind of real world cold weather that we're having here, but it's still very nice because we this is still a Greek island. Oh yes. All right, we've got also in the live chat, we've got Tommy from Belgium. Great to have you with us, Tommy. And Leland says you're moving here, right? Oh, to Clearwater, Florida. Yeah, at some point I'll be popping over. We've got Paul on board in northern Italy. 18 degrees here. What? How on earth is it 18 degrees? That is absolutely bonkers. We've got Luca on board from Monte Cristi, Dominican Republic, I believe DR would be. Great to have you with us, Luca. We've got Mark on board from Ohio. Hello, Mark. Always a pleasure. Yeah, so we've got, of course, some some preloaded questions. So if you are watching this later on, not live, and you have got some questions that you would like to have answered, then all you need to do is put them in the comments section, and then I will answer your questions in next week's Q&A. Now, this is some big news right now, and I'm sorry to lay this on you, but there won't be any live Q&A next Friday. Sorry about that, but I'm going to be away on a little holiday with the family, so not able to do the live Q&A next Friday. Sorry about that. If you had some questions for next Friday specifically, better that you can ask them today. There we are. Big news. Marcus is on board. Hi, Marcus. How are you doing? Marcus is one of the key players in the Tornado fleet. He has probably got one of the best looking tornadoes on the planet. And I have had the pleasure of being in this fleet on many occasions and revving up to be going to Italy this year to sail in the World Championships, where I'm sure Marcus will be there also, and many others. So if you've got a tornado, I think it's middle of August, Lake Como, Italy. Let's go to Lake Como, Italy for the World Championships in the Tornado Catamaran. Very much looking forward to that one. Now, on the topic of events, a lot of people have been asking me to promote their events. So what I thought I would start doing is every month. So I'll do the first one as soon as I've got enough events in. But if you send me details of your event that's going on, I think you know what the details are. And then what I will do is every 4 weeks, every month, I'll put together a video just telling the global Joyrider TV community what events are going on and where. So then that means we can keep everybody informed. It'll be quite an interesting video for people as well, because you can tune in and you can go, oh, there's something going on near me. I might get down to that. Because with all these events, even if you haven't got a boat right class, you can still go to the event, get involved. If you get on class association Facebook page or forum and say, I'd really like to do this event, I don't have a boat, could I get on a boat with somebody? Then get involved like that, or go to the event, help out with the organization, or go to the event and just watch all the boats coming in and out and the racing out on the water. See if you can get on a committee boat or something like that. There are many great ways to enjoy a sailboat racing event. Very good. Yeah. So if you are hosting an event, or if you're responsible for promoting an event, send me the details. I'd only want to be getting details through email. So that's totaljoyrider@icloud.com for emails. And then I will put your event in the next events video that I will be putting out. And I would think these events videos will reach a different group of people to the ones who perhaps look on the Facebook page or on your class association website. So worth doing that. All right, very nice. Also, we've got on board Benedetto. Great to have you with us, man. And Max is here with us. Big wind at Lake Simsey, 20 knots, gusting up to 30. Sadly, couldn't find a crew to head out on the 3 degrees warm water. Oh my word. Max is really, he deserves a medal for going out with such cold conditions. Looking to give it some hammer tomorrow and get on the speed stick. Great stuff, Max. Very glad to know that you are flying the flag there in Germany. Very well done. Dobie's on board. In case my prior mention didn't get through. Hi, and I'm just watching. Great to have you with us, Dobie. Always a pleasure. We've got KHV from Lake Ufula, Oklahoma. Great to have you on board. Thanks for tuning in. All right, Mark says, love your t-shirt. Gotta get one. Available in the US. Oh, yes. Now, this is the interesting thing on the totaljoyrider.com website. Everything that is on there is being shipped from your continent. So wherever you are, apart from if you're in Africa, sorry about that, haven't got a supplier in Africa just, but I'm getting all of the t-shirts, jumpers, everything printed in your country or continent, so it doesn't take so long to get to you and you don't get hammered with import tax. Yes, we are printing from within the UK as well, from the USA, from various places in mainland Europe, from Australia. So wherever you are, just order something and it generally will be with you within 2 weeks. There we go. But I'm pretty pleased with this one. I think it looks very nice. The design team has been really putting the hours in to come up with some great designs this year already. All right, Dobie says, okay, I can accept a family vacation for an excuse for my absence next week. All right, Richard's on board. He's definitely coming this summer. Great to hear it. Good stuff. All right, KHV says, I'm needing a new main for my 1980 Prindle 16. Go for a square top or go for the original design? Yeah, that's a big question. Yeah, it is going to change the feel of the boat. And I would say the square top mainsail certainly gives these classic boats a more modern feel. Like, I've only experienced it on the Hobie 14, which traditionally would have what in Greece is, as you will know, is known as a cheese pie mainsail, because here in Greece, cheese pies are a particular shape. So if there's the mast, the cheese pie shaped sail, which is quite traditional, would be something like that. And there's nothing wrong with the traditional sail shape, but the square top sail, it does a lot of the work for you, and it gives you a bit more juice in the lighter wind, because what we're doing is we're not adding sail area when we're changing to a square top mainsail. What it's doing is redistributing some of the sail area. So when we're talking square top, it would be more like that, with, of course, battens to support that cloth at the top there. Now, the reason why it gives you a bit more juice in the lighter winds is because we've got more sail area higher up. Now, as we get higher up above the water, there is less friction from the water on the air, which means the air is moving faster. So the more we've got at the top of the sail, it's going to produce more power, especially in the lighter winds. And then the reason why the square top is doing a lot of the work for you when it's windy is because when you tune the sail correctly with the right amount of downhaul, which if it was windy would be a lot, then the battens are actually acting like suspension for the wind. So as you get a gust, the sail will open up to a certain degree without you even having to do anything. And then when that gust goes and the pressure comes down a bit in the sail will close a bit again, meaning that there is less work involved in trimming a square top mainsail. This was the big difference we noticed in the Tiger class, when the Tiger class went from cheese pie sail shape to the square top sail shape, that it really was a lot easier to get the boat going fast. So should you go for a square top? I would say, if it all comes down to competition sailing. If you're competition sailing and the class rules say you have to be using the original sail, or it's unlikely in the Prindle class because Prindles haven't been made for many years. But if they say you have to use an original shape of sail for your boat on your Prindle 16 at the US Nationals or something, then you'd want to stay the same. But if there's nothing like that going on, then I'd say yes, go for the square top, because by doing that, you feel that when you're purchasing that new sail, you are really making a difference to your boat, and it will change how the boat feels, and that new sail will make you feel like you've got a new boat, or at least new sail. There we are. Yes, very good. All right, we got Brett on board in Whitstable. Whitstable, of course, down in the southeast of the UK, the home of the Kent Forts race. Oh, yes, that is a very good long distance race in the UK. And I actually did the first ever one on a Dart 18, and youngest team, oldest boat. And we were absolutely smashed the night before, so much so that we pretty much set fire to my van with when we tried to cook some mussels from the fish market. And then we went on to win the race, which was very nice. No wind at all, but really good stuff. So Brett is watching while tuning the rudders on his 16. That is nice. There's nothing that will put you in the mood more for watching or listening to something like this than to actually be doing something like this at the same time. And there's nothing you can do better for your boat than giving your rudder system a bit of love. Yes, all rudder systems need a bit of love. So there you go. All right, great to have you with us. Lincoln's on board in Nova Scotia, Canada. Great to have you on board. All right, we got John Bishop on board, who says, once you pop, you can't stop. Hashtag Pringle. Oh, yeah, not off. John Bishop, of course. If that is the same John Bishop, it is the same John Bishop. Just had to zoom in there to check because there are. But John Bishop runs a YouTube channel on the topic of skateboarding. And he has got quite a similar method of delivery to myself. So if you like my style of delivery and you're into a bit of skateboarding, then check out John Bishop's skateboarding channel. He's going through each episode. He's either looking at a different skate park or learning a new trick and going through some pretty juicy stuff while learning all of the subtleties of the new tricks that he's learning. From doing this over the last couple of years, he's gone from just getting out for the first time after 30 years or something to being on vert ramps, getting air and doing things that somebody of his age should have to be thinking twice about doing. So great stuff there. Check it out. All right, we got Scott dropping it in the slot. Great to have you with us, Scott, as always. We got Sean on board. Just wondering if you had any thoughts on proas. Oh, my word. Well, due to my lack of response on that topic, it's not something I've often thought about. But a proa is, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's one of the earliest forms of multi-hulls. I think perhaps comes from some part of Polynesia, featured in the animated movie Moana, of course, where you've got your hull of your boat like this. And then instead of having another hull identical, you'd have an outrigger with a small float on it. And then depending on the style, you'd have the mast with the sail just on one of the hulls. So when you're on this tack, by the way, I know nothing about this. I'm just making it up, but I think this sounds pretty good. When you're on this tack, you've got this hull, which is preventing the boat from capsizing effectively, because you've got all that leverage and then this floating down there. And then when you're on the other tack, let's just assume we're on the other tack, then you'd sit out here and you would have an absolute ton of leverage there to stop the boat from capsizing. And it was actually a proa, which was the speed record holder for water speeds, which was called Sail Rocket, which was a proa. And I believe on that one, the rig was actually on the outrigger hull rather than the main hull. But other than that, I haven't really thought about them very much at all, to be honest. I just stick to two hulls of a similar size, generally in my normal day-to-day life. All right, John Bishop says, you'd be amazed by how similar it is. Yeah, I think one of the big difference between Joyrider TV and John Bishop skateboarding is I start a lot of my videos by saying, hello, yes, that's right, it's Joe here for Joyrider TV. Whereas John says, yeah, that's right. Quite similar. We go way back, as you could probably imagine. All right, so Dobie says, setting fire to your van by some muscles. That is pretty understandable. Yeah. Yeah, it was quite an emotional evening trying to cook on the cooker in the camper van, and fell asleep while cooking, and woke up, van engulfed in purple smoke, and it never smelt the same again after that. All right, so Sean says, close. Oh, you shunt rather than tack, so reverse direction. Okay, the float is always to windward. Okay. Right. So you go one way, then you go the other way, but without actually turning the corner. That's what I think I understand by that on the topic of the proa. But it would be very interesting to try one. That would be for sure. Definitely. I'd just like to know, Sean, do you actually sail such a craft? And if so, where? Quite interested. All right. So I think at this stage in the game, I'm going to go on to the first preloaded question of the session. And this one comes from Greg. Oh, here we go. This is a good one. I'm sure this will actually apply to a lot of people. Greg says, on my Hobie 20, our main halyard ties onto the big ring, and then it has a twist shackle on the ring that hooks to the main. I was told to run the main halyard through the small hole in the big ring. I'll draw this in a second, so you'll see. And then tie a single stop knot. What I can't remember is if it's best to have the knot facing aft or forwards when connecting the shackle to the mainsail. We often have trouble getting the ring to come off the hook when we attempt to drop the main, rotating the mast starboard until it finally comes loose. My hands are always beaten up. Yeah, this is a fairly common problem. So just to illustrate what Greg's asking there is, on many types of boat, at the top of the mast, to hook the sail up, we've got a hook, which would basically be something like that. Let's say it's riveted into the side. On some boats, actually riveted into the side of the mast like that. On the Tornado, I'm not sure about all types of boat, but on the Tornado, the hook is actually on a pivoting like pin in the middle of the mast. So if we look straight on, that would be the hook there. There's the mast track. And then what you have on the mainsail is a ring, as Greg calls the big ring. And then there are different styles. Some rings basically have like the shackle part like welded on. These are the better ones. If this is the first tip, if you can change your ring for one which has actually got the shackle part integrated into the ring, that means it's much more positive when it comes to unhooking the sail, because what Greg's got is a ring like this, and then he has a shackle. I believe this is what he's talking about, which goes onto the ring. And this means that the shackle is moving on the ring, which means that it's much less positive when you're trying to unhook, or for that matter, hook the sail in, because there's too many things moving there. Now, the other thing that we've got as a, what you call it, an element of this ring is you could either have a ring like this one where there's nothing else, or one with a little hoop at the top. Now, I think if you've got the integrated shackle and little hoop at the top, then that is the best ring that you can have at the top of your sail, because by having the little hoop at the top, it means when you tie it on, rope goes through the little hoop, figure of 8 like that, to stop the rope from coming out. It means that your rope isn't going to get interfered with by the hook on the mast. So that is the first thing. If you can change your gear slightly and get the ring with the integrated shackle and little hoop on the top, much better. And then what you need to do, if your hook is on one side of the mast, like I know on the Dart 18, it's definitely on one side of the mast riveted on. I think on the Hobie 18, similar. Before you even attach the mainsail to the halyard, this is just for hoisting, look up the mast and just hold the halyard and make sure, if we go back to this picture here, so we're looking onto the back edge of the mast. If that's the hook there, make sure that the halyard isn't the wrong side of the hook. That is number one. If it's the wrong side of the hook, when you get to the top, chances are you're not going to be able to hook the sail in at all. But if you are able to hook the sail in, it's going to be very difficult to pull the sail to the top of the mast. So look up the mast first. And if it is the wrong side, you can do a kind of flick with the halyard, maybe rotate the mast to encourage the halyard to basically end up in the middle of the mast track. That is going to make a big difference to the hoisting of the sail. All right, so next one is when you attach the hook, the ring, sorry, to the sail, should the knot be at the back? So if this was going to be at the back, yeah, it'd be kind of as we've drawn it there. Or if we just, let's have another one of these. Or should you have it so the rope comes over the top and then the knot is on the inside? Well, this just basically depends on the geometry of your boat. If you have it shackled on this way, what's going to happen is it's going to make it much easier to hook this onto the hook at the top of the mast. If it seems that you have more difficulty hooking the sail on and no difficulty at all in dropping the sail, then maybe do it this way, because that means when you pull the halyard, it's going to pull the ring in towards the mast, encouraging it to hook onto the top. Yeah. Whereas for dropping the sail, if it's already difficult, if you do it this way, when you pull the halyard to pull the sail up a bit before you drop it, it's actually going to be pulling the ring more onto the hook, making it more difficult. So, yeah, that is my thoughts on which way you should go through with the knot, or which way you should put it on. Now, with the dropping of the sail, this can get to be quite an emotional time. I know that. Firstly, if you're using a at the bottom of the mast, or at the bottom and the top of the mast, you'll have what is called sheaths, which are the little pulleys. So at the bottom of the mast, you might have, like on a Hobie, it would be, you'd have 3 of them, 2 for the downhaul, 1 for the halyard. So this would be the bottom of the mast, like this. Halyard goes around this one. Now, do check quite regularly that your sheaves are in good shape and they're running freely. If your sheaves aren't running freely, this can lead to it being very difficult to pull the sail up, to unhook it. So replace them. I think if I was using my sheaths and sailing my boat quite regularly, I might even look at replacing them once a year, just to make that as easy as possible, hoisting and dropping the sail. And then when you come to dropping the sail, there's a few things in the procedure, and this goes for any boats which have a hook at the top of the mast, whether it's this type of hook or the type of hook that you have on a Hobie Tiger, for example. What you want to do, first thing, is make sure that the mast, the sail, and the wind are all in a straight line. So how far over here can I go? Mast, sail, wind, all in a straight line. So I think you could just about see that the wind's coming from that way. If any of it isn't in a straight line, what you're doing is adding friction, and it's going to be much more difficult, firstly, to pull the sail up that little bit, and then it's going to be more difficult to pull the sail down again. Get rid of your friction. And then once you've got rid of your friction like this, a good way that I would do it is, if there's your crew perhaps who's holding the boat, make sure they're holding the boat at the bow, the front of the boat, so it can pivot. And then if it's not all lined up, grab the boom, pull it into the center line of the boat. And by doing that, that's going to get the boat to come into, to point into the wind. That's going to help a lot. So get it all lined up first. Then next step, make sure your downhaul is completely removed. And then take a hand either side of the sail at the bottom and push it up the mast a bit, so that then when you pull the halyard, you're not fighting the sail at the bottom of the mast as well as the rest of it. Sounds good so far? Yes. And then once you've done that, it is a bit of a case of getting to know your boat. So there are 4 different ways that we can turn the mast when it comes to unlocking the sail. All right. Can anybody guess what they are? Here we go. So if this is the front beam, like this, the mast is just going to be indicated by a black line. So firstly, we can rotate, if this is the front of the boat here, we can rotate the mast to starboard, and we can either rotate it a little bit. Now, some boats respond better to just having the mast rotated a little bit. If your boat falls into that category, then it is actually a lot easier to pull the sail down like that, because there's less friction when you're pulling the sail down. So if you don't know which way to do it, start off by going a little bit to starboard, pull the sail up first. While you've still got tension on the halyard, rotate it a little bit to starboard. Then with the mast still rotated, pull the sail down as hard as you can. If you need to, you can actually loop a piece of rope through the tack of the sail to get something more to hold on to. Pull it down, see how that works out. If that doesn't work, then phase 2, we're going to rotate the mast still to starboard, but a lot. So we're going to go all the way. Can you see that? What I've drawn there? We've rotated the mast all the way over to starboard to 90 degrees. So it is going to be more difficult to pull the sail down because of the friction, because with the mast like that, hold on, which is the front of, the sail will be coming off the mast at 90 degrees. That is a ton of friction, but it can be necessary. So push the mast all the way round and then pull it down. If that doesn't work, we've got 2 other ways to try. Can anybody guess what they are? All right, let's have a look. So we're doing the same thing, but on the port side, a little bit. If that doesn't work, a lot. One of those ways should work. There we go. Yeah, that would be my whole bag of advice when it comes to dropping the sail, which has the ring on the top. But the main thing is I would suggest changing to a ring that has the shackle part welded on rather than having a separate shackle there. Okay, 37 minutes have elapsed. I'm just going to take a short commercial break. There we are. Yes, head over to totaljoyrider.com, pick yourself up a glossary of terms, sweatshirt like this one, or t-shirt, or a tequila sunset t-shirt like that one there, or many other things there that I have lovingly designed for you lucky people. There we go. All the proceeds from totaljoyrider.com go to the production of future videos. Like, it's not long now that I'm going to have to buy a new computer because the one that I'm using now is struggling to edit a lot of the footage. So I don't know how long she's going to last. So any support to Joyrider TV is really, really helping. So thanks very much. Thanks to everybody who's been supporting the channel on Patreon as well, and through channel memberships, through super stickers. Did you know about super stickers? Sorry, how's this commercial break going for you? At the bottom of the live chat, you see a square with a dollar sign in it. Super stickers. Very nice. Anyway, back to the live chat. I hope everybody's having a lovely time. If you'd like to support Joyrider TV in a different way, just hit the like button every time you watch one of the videos, even if you didn't like it. I tell you what, if you didn't like it, hit the dislike button, because I don't know if a lot of people know this, but the like button and the dislike button actually help to promote the video just as much. But I'd prefer the like one. It's better for the soul. All right. So Sean, about the proa, is in Manchester. Okay. In the UK. He's not yet tried one, but he's thinking about building one. Ooh. Well, if you do end up building one, make sure you document your process, lots of photographs or video, and then it will definitely be a feature in Show Us Your Cat, because that would be something that I would certainly like to see. So I'm sure everyone else would as well. All right, we've got California Home Choice on board. Great to have you with us. Mr. Tony KP is with us as well. Great to have you with us also. Good that everyone's tuning in. All right, Scott says, hello, Team Texas. I will be in Galveston area April 5th to 8th and would love the chance to do a ride along. One of you responded a few Fridays back about Hill Country Sailing Club. Also, Scott is putting it out there. Well done, Scott. He's going to be in San Diego May the 17th to the 19th and would love to get out in Mission Bay. All right. So put it in the comments below. I'll hook you guys up through email or any other method I can think of. Right. We've got Aaron on board in New Zealand. Good morning, Aaron. Must be as early as you like there. Probably, 5 a.m.? Got Ollie Smith on board as well. Hello, Ollie. Ollie is revving up to coming back out to Vasiliki for some good times on the Wild Wind Beach. All sorts of shenanigans are looming in the in the future. Very good stuff. 23 days to go. All right, we've got Curran KL on board in Salt Lake City, Utah, USA. Great to have you with us. We've got Thomas on board somewhere in deepest, darkest Germany. Johan 66 on board also. Greetings from the Netherlands. 1.5 months, let's call that 6 weeks, and the sailing season starts. Wowzers. All right, so Dobie says, release the sheet. As best I know, trouble at times is in tight quarters where or when deviation is not conducive of good course, meaning I could get run up on the rocks. Wowzers. I'd have to say not completely sure about what you're asking there, Dobie. If you could perhaps rephrase your question, that would be very helpful because I'm not quite getting what you mean there. All right, and while you're doing that, I'm going to go on to our next preloaded question, which is from the Philscar. This is in response to Show Us Your Cat from last Sunday. In fact, if you haven't seen that, make sure you check that out. It is a Bobby Dazzler. There's a lot of good boats in that episode. Some great footage as well. Actually, it's not Show Us Your Cat. It was What Went Wrong. Beg your pardon. But there was the NACRA 17 of... I want to say Dave. I'm not sure if it was Dave. Apologies to Dave if your name is not Dave with the NACRA 17. But he says, could you talk about hooking on to the main sheet as I do a lot of single-handed sailing? Yeah, so this was a really good innovation on the NACRA 17 that we saw in that What Went Wrong video, where if we've got, we're going 3D. Oh, yeah. This is really going to pop out. So there's the hulls, and that hull's a little bit too long. Never mind. Oh, it's off the screen anyway. And so what he'd done on the NACRA 17 is you've got your, if this is the main sheet here, you've got your loop of rope, which you take out with you onto the trapeze, one end being the main sheet, the other end being the traveler, like that. And what we were looking at was actually having a carabiner clip, which you use on here. And when you're out on the trapeze, you actually put that clip onto your harness. So I'm not sure which bit of the harness he'd clipped it onto, but yeah, there will be a bit of the harness where, or you could even tie a loop of rope around the spreader bar on your harness and clip this bad boy on. And that means that when his trapeze line snapped, he was still attached to the boat by this loop here. Now, this strikes me as a good scheme because we have talked quite a lot in the past about having a separate line to tether yourself to the boat, which having more string on the boat does worry me, because if you capsize, the more string you've got on the boat or rope, there's more things that you could get tangled up in the water, which could make it more difficult for you to resolve the situation. So by hooking in to this rope, which is already there, which you're already taking with you, it means you're not having an extra rope. And if you do fall in the water, what happened in the video was the weight of the body in the water dragging actually sheeted the main sheet in really tight, which is going to do one of two things. In a lighter wind, what that's going to do is make the boat head up into the wind and stop. Very nice. And then you've got the rope to pull yourself back to the boat, making it easier to get on. Or in the stronger wind, what's going to happen there is it's going to sheet in tight, boat's going to capsize, and you've got the rope there again to help you pull yourself back to the boat. I think this is a good scheme. It does come with it a little bit of, there is a slightly dangerous element in that if you are clipped in here and you capsize sideways, let's say, and you fall down the trampoline into that space there, there is a chance that you could get tangled up in this rope. So as soon as you land in the water, if you were to capsize sideways, you'd want to very quickly unhook. So perhaps rather than a carabiner, you'd be better off with a snap shackle, like a kite surfer might have used back in the day when they used snap shackles, with a rope, with a quick release rope on it. So then you can just pull the quick release and then you're free from that. Whereas with a carabiner, if it's under tension, like if you're getting dragged perhaps, and you really don't want to get dragged anymore, you want to get off, with a carabiner, you're going to have to actually pull the weight off it before you can unhook it. Whereas with a snap shackle, you can, if you've got a snap shackle with a rope on it, you could just pull the rope and you'll be released immediately. I think that's a better idea. Research and development all the time on Joyrider TV. But what this is really good for is if you fall off the boat, you are going to stay attached. And as we saw, even if the trapeze line breaks, because it's attached to your harness, you are still going to be attached. So I think this is probably, for single-handed sailing with no safety cover, this is perhaps the best scheme to use. The other one you could use is basically when you hook onto the trapeze, if this is you, how can we draw this? If this is you here, here's your harness here, other leg. When you hook onto the trapeze, just have this loop of rope above the hook, so you're actually hooked in to that loop of rope. Then that's going to have the same effect unless your trapeze line breaks. So out now the other time when this is not going to be ideal in the slightest is if you pitch pole. Ooh, this could get quite interesting. And you would certainly want to have a snap shackle, not a carabiner, because this is only going to go towards the front of the boat so far. We're going to do some testing on this in the summer. I can tell you, I'm not looking forward to pitch poling whilst clipped into this line where it just goes bing and you might go swinging into the mast. Anything could happen and probably will. But yeah, this could be quite emotional if you were to pitch pole whilst clipped to this. But there you go. That's what I think about this scheme. I think it's a very good idea unless you're going to pitch pole, but with a snap shackle rather than a carabiner clip. All right. So just moving on to the last preloaded question, which is from GVZ, who says, we sail Hellcats. I have to admit, I'm not familiar with the Hellcat, and bought some sails from another guy. It turns out that my jib is from a Dart, I believe. Point is, it's bigger than the standard Hellcat jib. Am I at a disadvantage or do I have an advantage? Well, it all depends. There's a chance you'll have an advantage. So if we just, let's draw the boat again. I don't know what a Hellcat looks like, but I dare say it's got a mast and a hull. Something like this. So the first factor when we are using a non-original jib on the boat is the luff length, the length of the front edge of the sail. Like the tack, the front bottom corner of the sail would have to stop here somewhere. And then that means we've got this distance from here to here. We're going to need some space at the top for the pulley to hoist the sail up. So we've got that amount of space for the luff. So if this is for other people, if you're looking at getting a non-original jib for your boat and you want to find out what your luff length could be, then what you could do is onto your jib halyard, you could attach a tape measure, hoist the tape measure up there, and then measure what space you've got. And you don't want to absolutely max out that length, because what will happen is the sail will stretch a bit over time, and you want to have the ability to have it a bit tighter in stronger winds or a bit looser in lighter winds. So first one is luff length. If the luff is too long for this distance, like if you find with your Hellcat that in the front edge of the jib, you're not getting a straight line from the front edge of your jib, that could well be that the luff is actually too long. So you need to do everything you can to gain space to get more tension in the luff of the jib. Yeah, so that's the luff. Now, the second thing, which let's assume that our luff is all right. The second thing is going to be the sheeting angle. And sorry, forgot the name. GVZ asked about the different positions on the clue of the sail. Now, let's just draw the jib in like this. There we go. So if you've got more than one position, Might have a plate like this on the clue. What we want ideally is to have an even amount of tension in the foot of the sail and in the leech of the sail, because what that means is the pull from the sheets is even, and that is going to give us the best possible sail shape. So the sheets obviously will attach to the clue, but if we continue from the clue to the luff of the sail, that is kind of what we're looking at. Now, if the foot of the sail is too tight, what that probably means is it means you've got too much tension in the foot, which comes from this angle of pull. Let's draw this in a different color. So perhaps your jib sheeting block is back here somewhere, which means your angle of pull is going to be much too far back. We're going to have a very tight foot, a very loose leech, which we don't want to have. You're probably going to have the back of the sail flapping quite a lot. You're not going to get much power out of the sail in lighter winds, and it's not ideal. So if that is happening, what we want to do, if we don't have the ability to move the sheeting position, like ideally we'd move the sheeting position forwards, and what moving it forwards will do is increase the tension in the leech, the back edge of the sail, and reduce the tension in the foot. But if we don't have that ability, that is when this clue plate comes in, and by moving up on the clue plate like this, it means we are pulling down more on the leech and less on the foot. The other thing we can do, which would help, would be move the jib lower down. By moving that lower down, it's going to reduce the tension in the foot and increase it in the leech. So a few things we could do there. Generally speaking, we want to have the jib pretty low down anyway, like almost as low down as we can get it. And then, just up on the clue plate if your foot is too tight. But, or if the leech is too tight, then it's the opposite. We move down on the clue plate to take some of that tension out of the leech, move the sheeting angle further back if we've got the ability to do that. So we're getting that tension even. Then if you are able to get your tension even between the leech and the foot, the way to use the clue plate then is if there's more wind and you're wanting to depower, then you'll move down, which will loosen the leech slightly, opening the leech up and allowing to spill some of the pressure. And then in the lighter winds, we would move up. Usually, we'd never go so far up that we haven't got any tension in the foot of the sail. Never a tighter leech than equal with the foot. Does that make sense? Made sense to me. All right. Well, I hope that helps. It was a very good question, and I hope you have some great sailing on your Hellcat. All right. Johan66 says, try the pitch pole with an impact vest and a helmet. Yeah, I think maybe a neck brace as well might be appropriate for that one. Or maybe what we could do is see if we can get some sort of crash test dummy and actually do it online. We could simulate it on land, put the boat on land, put the dummy out on the trapeze, and then just basically push the dummy forwards with the main sheet in as tight as it will go and see what happens to his trajectory, the route that he takes around the front of the boat. And if it doesn't look too bad, maybe I'll try it. But if it looks too bad, maybe I won't. Yeah, good shout. All right, we've got Ryan on board. Now, in the live chat, you may be wondering, how come Ryan is the only person here with green writing? He's got a star after his name, and he's got these great honey cat emojis. It's because Ryan is a channel member. Everybody can be a channel member. It's not the same as subscribing. Basically, what you see under every video, not this one at the moment, but every normal video, is a button that says join. Hit the join button. You pay some money. This is to buy my new computer, by the way. And then you get all these options. There's a load of different emojis there. If you want something specific, let me know. I'll see what I can do. Anyway, thank you very much. All right, Sean says, this will be the last question of the session. It's almost tea time here in Greece. How much extra line would you need to lessen pitch pole problems? If it was a couple of meters, maybe having a length of zigzagged webbing with rubber bands between the carabiner and the harness. Yeah, that, I see what you're saying. What Sean is saying with this tether, to make it pitch pole proof, maybe to have some extra rope so that you've got a bit more give. So if you do pitch pole, it's not going to throw you into the mast. But the difficulty is going to be how we take care of that extra rope so it's not getting tangled up around everything. So we'd need some sort of fancy takeaway system for the extra rope, perhaps using some shock cord. Yeah, all right. This will be on the research and development testing table. This is going to be one of the big topics of this summer, is going to be this tether scheme, because I have found if anybody saw my how far can you sail in 7 minutes video, there was 2 that I did where I was single-handed, and I did think, if the trapeze line breaks and I'm not able to hold on to the main sheet, then that could be game over, because even in Vasiliki Bay, where the water is relatively flat, there is so much water, you become very difficult to spot, unless the people looking for you happen to be lucky enough to see you in the water. And that's here where we've got very good safety cover. So in the real world, I can see that this tether system could really be very important, as much of a game changer as the capsized writing bag. So thanks very much for that, Sean, and to everybody else for tuning in today, and to everybody else who is watching this in the future. If you could hit the like button before you leave, that would be great. Do head over to totaljoyrider.com and be one of the first people to snag yourself a glossary of terms jumper or t-shirt. All right, Mr. J has just tuned in, or maybe he's been there the whole time, beg your pardon. Just found your channel when looking to buy a Hobie. Really glad I found your channel. I'm really glad you did too, because I am here to help. Any questions, let me know. Put them in the comments section below. I'm not here next week, but the following week we'll be back on with some more scintillating Q&A on Joyrider TV. Thanks very much, and I'll see you soon with some more. In fact, this Sunday, I've got a very interesting video. It's taken me quite a long time to make. It is called something along the lines of catamarans or monohulls. What is better for learning how to sail on? Catamarans or monohulls? There we go. Even if you're an experienced sailor, definitely worth a watch. A lot of food for thought there. Thanks, Max. Thanks, Mr. J. Thanks, Scott. Thanks, everybody. And we'll see you soon. See you Sunday. Let's do a premiere again so we can have some live chat. That's fun.